A Legend of Jufu, In Search of the Elixir, Saga Women's Junior College. Acknowledgements. We would like to give our thanks to Mr. Jonathan Moxon, an English teacher of our school, who kindly checked our translation. Our deepest thanks go to Mr. Tsurusaki, Dick Planning Company Limited, for admitting us using the illustration as a cover picture. We should also express a hearty thanks to Mr. Tomoyuki Natsume, an associate professor, for his kind help with compiling this booklet. February 4th, 1999, Masahiro Nishiyama, associate professor. Satoko Oguchi, Mari Tsunada, Shiho Takeda, Ayako Nagaishi, Sachiko Hirota, Misa Fujii, Yuko Furukawa, Misato Matsumoto. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, brought the whole of China under unified rule in 221 BC after a series of battles against his enemies. Having been enthroned in 246 BC, it took him 26 years before he succeeded in unifying the whole land. He declared himself to be the first emperor of China at the age of 38. He organized all the land into prefectures and counties so that he could control it exclusively with his power. He not only rebuilt the Great Wall against the invasion by the northern tribes, but built a tremendously great palace in the suburbs of the capital city, though it was destroyed halfway. He is also known for setting a unified standard for weights and measurements, as well as Chinese characters. He should be called a great emperor for these achievements, but he was also a terrible ruler who oppressed people's free ideas by burning all the precious books except the official records and books on medicine, prediction, and agriculture. This took place in 213 BC. The following year, he buried as many as 460 people alive who were great scholars and well-known fortune tellers of that time. Besides, Qin Shi Huang was so lustful and selfish as to long for eternal life. In 219 BC, the 40-year-old emperor made his first round visit of the eastern territory of his land. Then a local fortune teller named Jufu sought an audience with him. He was a man from the small nation of Gi, present Shandong in the southeast of China, which had been conquered by Qin Shi Huang 2 years before. Jufu said to Qin Shi Huang, "O great emperor, your name should be blessed. I implore you to listen to the proposal of your faithful subject." "What is it, Jufu?" said the emperor. "Let me listen to you." "O great emperor, I hear you're very concerned about living forever. I know how to make your dream come true." "Very interesting. I don't mind your interrupting my time," said the first emperor. "You can tell me what you know right here." "There is a land of eternity called Horai in the eastern seas," he said. "In the center of that island rises a high mountain, and at the top of it grows the herbs of eternal life." "Sounds interesting indeed," said the emperor. "Do you think it possible to get the herbs, Jufu?" "If you could prepare what I ask you to, I will bring them back at the risk of my life, he said. What do you want? Tell me now, said Qin Shi Huan. They shall be ready for you right away. I will not be able to go to the island by myself, said Jufu to the emperor. I need at least 700 people to help me find the herbs. It goes without saying that we should offer some grains and precious gems to the king of the land. As we have no idea what the island is like, we had better take carpenters and engineers with us. Of course, we need plenty of food to survive. If you prepare these things, O great emperor, I promise to bring the elixir of life to you in several years. The first emperor of the Qin dynasty prepared everything for Jufu and his party, including 20 vessels. After making every preparation, he left the port of his hometown for the eastern island. Struggling against the raging waves, they sailed on for many days and finally made it to the Ariake Sea Saga. Jufu tried anchoring at several ports in vain until they arrived at the port of Teraitsu, Morodomi town. Jufu floated a wooden wine cup on the water to see in which direction it flew. Making sure the point where the cup drifted ashore, they could land safely. The wine cup he floated then is still kept by a family of the town. Then Jufu planted seeds of a china berry called byakushin in Japanese to commemorate their landing. The plant is now over 2,000 years old and can be seen at the Nikita Shrine near the port of Teraitsu. It is a species rarely seen in Japan, but they are commonly seen in the district where Jufu left. They stayed there for some time to make preparations for their searching for the elixir. In the meantime, they dug a well by the river and came to make friends with the villagers. The well is preserved in Teraitsu. Soon the time came for them to leave for the sacred mountain. Jufu and his party probed their way along the river bank overgrown with reeds. As they went on, they shook off the leaves of reeds. As a result, even today the reeds here have a leaf only on one side. The other half is said to have become a fish called etsu, which is peculiar to this district. It was very difficult for them to make their way because the whole area was a vast wilderness. So they had to clear the bush and carpet their way with a thick cloth they had brought from China. When they came to the present Chifu village, they ran out of their 1,000 rolls of cloth. So the local community is called Chifu, which means 1,000 rolls of cloth. When they advanced a little farther to the north, Jufu met a man named Genzo and asked him to be their guide to climb the mountain of Kinryu, where the secret herbs grew. Jufu had to stay at Genzo's house for some time, during which time he fell in love with Otatsu, the guide's daughter. She was a very pretty girl and loved the Chinese leader so deeply, though she could not have much time to spend with Jufu. Since he was absorbed in his search and wandered around the place day after day, at last Otatsu fell ill, overcome with waiting for Jufu in vain. At her deathbed, she said her passing words, I'll have to go soon, but if you pray for my spirit after my death, I'll never fail to grant your wishes." So the villagers built a small shrine for her. We can still see the small hut. They also planted a pine tree in memory of Genzo, who served Jufu as a guide. The pine tree is seen along the road to Mount Kinryu. Jufu and Genzo wandered about the mountain every day. One day, when they were standing in the eastern gorge of the mountain, Sarasvati, the goddess of wealth and wisdom, appeared from nowhere and endowed Jufu the elixir called Furofuki. She visited him on a flying carpet of glittering colors. At the place, the villagers built a small shrine for Sarasvati and installed an image of the Hindu goddess. It had been kept there until 80 years ago, but is now transferred to the lower Kinryu shrine a few kilometers south of the place. Meanwhile, back in the Chinese capital, the emperor had been longing for the return of Jufu impatiently. He could not repress his burning anger and said to his important retainers, "Why on earth does he not come back? Didn't I give him everything he asked from me? They cannot have been wrecked on their way. Oh, great emperor, would you please keep patient for some more time?" they said. "How many times have you said that to me? How long do I have to wait for the elixir?" said Qin Shi Huan. "Oh, great emperor, we are sure he will return soon because you have been waiting this long. So we implore you to wait some more time, please," they said. Qin Shi Huan, the first emperor, had been making another round of visits to his domain in 210 BC when he fell ill and passed away. The poor emperor was 49 years old. It was 9 years since Jufu left his hometown, and he never returned to China to offer the herbs to Qin Shi Huan. Jufu chose to live in the village of Kinryu until he died, attended by the villagers. Jufu, or Jofuku by Japanese pronunciation, is a real person who lived in the 3rd century BC. His name is mentioned in 2 Chinese history books, the Book of Shi and the Book of Han. According to the Book of Shi, compiled at the beginning of the 1st century BC by Sima Qian, a famous historian, Jufu was from Gi, present Shandong. He was dispatched by Qin Shi Huan, the first emperor, in order to search for the elixir with 3,000 people, including the expert engineers, a lot of precious gems and seeds of grains. He went away, became a king, and never returned. In 1982, a village with the name of Jufu was discovered on the southeastern coast of the Shandong Peninsula. As a result of a historical investigation, it was officially recognized as the hometown of Jufu. In 1985, a monument was erected in the village plaza. It has been said that Jufu offered to venture into the adventurous voyage in order to win the emperor's favor. A recent study, however, attributes it to a motivation more chivalrous and considerate. 2 years before the unification by Qin Shi Huan, Jufu's district had surrendered to him. Since then, the people of the district had been stripped of every right and forced to work for the unseen dictator year after year, while the tyrant misruled them in such brutal ways as burning precious books and abusing people, young and old, for the reconstruction of the Great Wall. All the misgovernment of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, roused Zhu into his courageous action to take all his family and retainers for an exodus from China to a paradise in the eastern seas. As a fortune teller of that time, Zhu was quite familiar with astronomical observation and navigation as well. That was probably the reason why he requested the emperor to make such a large-scale preparations for the voyage. Zhu used every means possible to persuade the ambitious and greedy emperor to employ his advice. When the Zhu village was found out, the villagers told the historians an interesting episode which had been handed down generation after generation among them. According to the legend, Zhu said to the villagers who had been left behind, "We have to go to an island far, far away to search for the herbs of eternal life. This is an order assigned to me from the emperor. Unless we succeed in this, he must take revenge on you. It means that he will kill all the persons who name themselves a member of Zhu family. Therefore, never call yourselves so after I leave." The story of Zhu's expedition has been told as a legend in many places of Japan. More than 30 towns claim the landing site of the ancient Chinese hero. It is said that Saga is one of the very possible places.